What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Greyt podcast, episode 80, whatever we're on. I don't even know. Um, I got to go quick today. This is going to be the only episode of the week. I have a busy week ahead of me, unfortunately, but I will be back with two episodes next week. So I got to talk about this past weekend and get to this upcoming weekend with picks and do all that in about 30 minutes. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So, first off, let's get to this past week. I'm going to talk about four games. All right. Let's start off with Alabama, Missouri. I picked Missouri to win. I was wrong, by the way. Went 7-3 in picks. I was very happy about that. This is one of the games I got wrong. I believed in Missouri coming off a bye, and they kept it close. They fought, but in the end, it wasn't enough. And Alabama won this game. It was a good win for Alabama, but the gauntlet keeps going for Alabama. They have Tennessee this upcoming weekend. That should be a really fun game. You'll get my pick on that game. And yeah, I think Alabama is proving that they're a really good football team this year, and they just got to keep it going. Texas, Oklahoma. What a pathetic performance by Oklahoma, honestly. John Mateer should not have played. That is clear to me. 3 picks, a 42 QBR is unacceptable in a rivalry game like this. Am I any more impressed by Arch Manning? Not really. I heard someone idiotically be like, Texas won this game because of Arch Manning. No, they did not. They won this game because their defense absolutely suffocated Oklahoma and just allowed them to do absolutely nothing for 4 quarters. And I think this is the way Texas is going to have to play for the rest of the season. Have that defense be suffocating, have them be dominating, and you have a chance to win a football game. But if games are going to be put on Arch's shoulders, you are going to lose. That is just the reality for this season. Um, and that's how I feel about Texas. Oklahoma should be ashamed of themselves. This was a pathetic performance, to be quite honest with you. Indiana, Oregon. I am so incredibly impressed by Indiana. I gotta say, I think they're a top 5 team in the country easily. Are they the best team in the country? It's hard to say. I think Ohio State might be the best team in the country. I think Alabama has a case. I think Miami has a case. I think Indiana absolutely has a case. This was a massive win on the road in Eugene, Oregon, and they kind of just dominated Oregon. I'm going to be honest. Like, Dante Moore was bad, 21 for 34, 2 interceptions, a 33 QBR. Fernando Mendoza once again shines, 20 for 31, 215 yards passing. Yeah, he had a pick, also had a touchdown, 88 QBR. And that Indiana defense is spectacular. What Kurt Signetti is doing at Indiana needs to be talked about more, and it is just so impressive. And I think Indiana is a team to really watch out for. And at this point, it's hard to say that they aren't a national title contender. Georgia, Auburn. Oh, man. If this game the entire way had gone the way the first half went, I would be sitting here on a full-blown rant yelling about how angry I am with Georgia. And I think what I've kind of come to realize, and this is why I do these days after the games, I have time to think about it and ponder on it and not overreact. I think you saw similar things happen in this game that you saw happen in the Alabama Missouri game. Both Georgia and Alabama were on the road to SEC opponents who were coming off of a bye. And what you see happen in the Alabama game, first possession of Missouri, they go right down the field like it's the easiest thing they've ever done, score a touchdown. What did Auburn do? The exact same thing. The reason for that is during that bye, they went and they cooked up some things that the Alabama defense and the Georgia defense hadn't seen all year. And so that's what they came out the gate with. And Georgia knew that all they had to do was just bide their time. Just bide their time, make sure the game does not get out of hand early, and eventually Auburn will run out of plays, and then Georgia will take control and win the football game. And that is exactly what happened. I think the fumble on the goal line was a bang bang play. I could have seen it going either way. I've seen some angles where I think it was a touchdown. I've seen some where I think it's a fumble. I think it's. I don't think anyone who is sitting there saying, "Oh, it is indisputable. It is clear that it was a touchdown, or it is clear it was a fumble." They're lying. They're lying, and they're stupid. There's a reason that it feels like half of the people that watch the game think one way, half the other people think another way. The Kirby Smart timeout, that was interesting for sure. He 100% called a timeout. It should have been a delay of game. But people are misunderstanding what Kirby is saying. Kirby was not saying that he was clapping. Although Kirby did lie in the post game where he was like, "I didn't call a timeout." Kirby, you definitely called a timeout, but that's okay. But he wasn't saying that he was clapping. He was saying the Auburn defenders were clapping, which they were. We've seen the video, which should be a penalty. But the refs were terrible all game. You could tell that they were completely overwhelmed, and there were multiple terrible calls. Auburn was clearly offsides on the fourth down around midfield. They didn't call it. The penalty right after the timeout fiasco of a blindside block on Cash Jones was an utter nonsense call. And they were terrible all night, and you could tell that the refs were simply overwhelmed. And honestly, those refs should never referee a SEC game ever again, because that is ridiculous. Where the SEC, it's supposed to mean more, pay more to get better refs that know what they're doing, because that is ridiculous. Now, for Auburn fans who want to sit there and pretend like the refs screwed them out of this victory, you are out of your mind. That fumble happened with 2 minutes left to go in the second quarter. You're acting like it happened with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Give me a break. You were still up 10-0 when that fumble happened. And then you allowed yourself to be undisciplined. Your coach was undisciplined. Your entire team became undisciplined. And you mentally broke. Your team mentally folded. And it shows that you're not a mentally tough football team, which Auburn hasn't been a mentally tough football team for years. Under Brian Harsin, they weren't. And now under Hugh Freeze, they aren't. They are a mentally weak football team. And right when that fumble fiasco happened, they broke mentally. Because what happened? Georgia got the ball on their own 1 yard line, and penalty after penalty drove them right down the field to get a field goal before halftime. You should be ashamed. Ashamed. And then the referees had absolutely nothing to do with your offense going invisible in the second half. Just not doing a thing after halftime. I mean, they were complete no-shows. Complete no-shows. So that's just, I think anyone who's pretending like Auburn got screwed out of victory, nonsense. Okay, Auburn got screwed against Oklahoma, but I'm not going to pretend like Auburn got screwed against Georgia. That's ridiculous. Jackson Arnold sucks. That's why you lost. And you're probably going to fire your head coach this year. And Cam Coleman, welcome to UGA. Anywho, let's get to game picks, shall we? Week 8 game picks. Got 10 games here. You know what the deal is. Where do we start, though? A bunch of good games this week. Let's start with a big Friday nighter, huh? Big Friday nighter? Louisville, Miami? Ooh. You know, you could probably call me a Miami hater at this point. I keep predicting them to lose. And honestly, I think I'm going to do it again. Man, these Friday night games, they are weird. They are weird. I do not want my team playing on a Friday night game. And unfortunately, Georgia plays Georgia Tech on Friday night, just like last year. Remember what happened last year? It went into, 7 or 8 overtimes? Nightmare fuel. Okay? Nightmare fuel. I do not want my team playing on a Friday night. Some spooky things happen. And I think that's what might happen here. I'm going to pick Louisville to upset Miami on a Friday night. Washington, Michigan. Has anyone come to my side yet about this? About Michigan? Can we stop pretending like Michigan is a playoff contender? They suck. Michigan is terrible. They're completely misusing Bryce Underwood. They need to use him as a Cam Newton, and yet they're trying to use him like he's this pocket, like he's Peyton Manning pocket passer. Like, I don't understand what Michigan's doing over there offensively. They're terrible. They suck. USC beating them, that was the easiest prediction ever, and this is easy as well. Washington is going to beat Michigan that because Michigan sucks. LSU Vanderbilt. This is a little bit of a hard one, but I believe in LSU as a national title contender. They were my national title winner prediction before the season, and I'm going to still stand on that, and I'm going to pick them to beat Vanderbilt. I didn't love what I saw for them coming off a bye against South Carolina, but at the end of the day, they got the win, and I think I think this is a must-win for LSU and Brian Kelly because you still have some hard games coming up against teams like in Alabama, against teams like a Texas A&M. I think they play Oklahoma as well, if I remember correctly. So this Vanderbilt game is a must win. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ole Miss versus Georgia. I got to go with my dogs here. I think revenge is going to be on the mind. Ole Miss looked terrible against Washington State. It's in Athens. Georgia's going to want revenge. This is, they're not facing Ole Miss, where Ole Miss is coming off a bye week, unlike Auburn. I think the defense is starting to show signs that it's getting better, and I think Georgia wins this game. I also think, well, actually, I know Ole Miss's run defense is absolutely abysmal. If they let Georgia just run the ball all over them, they do not stand a chance. Texas Tech, Arizona State. I'm going to go Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is easily the best team in the Big 12. I was about to say in college football, and I was about to pass out. They're the best team in the Big 12. Arizona State has been very disappointing, and is Arizona State? Do they have Sam Levitt back for this game? I don't even know the answer to that, but honestly, I don't think it matters. Texas Tech wins easily, in my opinion. Mississippi State versus Florida. This one is a low-key, sneaky one, man. And this one's hard to pick. Honestly, I was probably going to pick whichever team was the home team. And in this case, it's Florida. So give me Florida. They've looked slightly better since their bye week. But the Texas A&M game was rough. Their offense still just does not look right at all. But, I think Florida's just too talented of a football team to lose this game to Mississippi State. So give me Florida to beat the fake Bulldogs. Penn State, Iowa. Oh, man. Is it crazy that I want to pick Penn State? Is it crazy that I want to pick them? Am I right in thinking that this might be the whole interim coach buff? I think it might be. I'm going to pick Penn State to beat Iowa in this football game, man. I just cannot fathom them losing 4 in a row. And I just feel like the interim coach buff might be a real thing in this instance. So give me Penn State to beat Iowa. USC Notre Dame, classic rivalry game. I don't think Notre Dame's very good. I think USC is actually better than a lot of people think. I'm a huge Mekhi Lemon fan. I can already tell you he's wide receiver 1 for me for the 2026 draft in Pittsburgh. Go Steelers. Here we go. 4-1, by the way. So I'm going to pick USC. I'm not very impressed by Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame loses this game, their playoff hopes should be over, I would think, because that'd be 3 losses. So give me USC to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Tennessee versus Alabama. So as everyone knows, I've picked Alabama to lose the past 3 weeks. So now I'm going to go reverse psychology. I'm going to pick Alabama to win at home in the night game against Tennessee. And watch this. They're going to lose. Just watch. Just watch now that I'm picking them. Utah versus BYU is the last one. I'm going to go Utah. BYU's been fine this year. Utah's been solid. Obviously, Utah had that very disappointing performance against Texas Tech, but I still think Utah has a lot of potential. They're a really good football team. Still think they could really make the Big 12 championship. Give me Utah to beat BYU. Look at that. I did all that in 15 and a half minutes, really. Now, to be fair, I kind of did fly through the preview, or not the preview, the review of last week, but that's okay. That's okay. I got everything done that I wanted to get done. Is there anything? Obviously, James Franklin was fired. I guess I do have to mention that. As far as who takes, I mean, look, James Franklin had to be fired because you cannot, with the expectations that they had. Again, I want to make sure I say this: the expectations that they had. I certainly didn't have national championship expectations, but they did. I understand them firing James Franklin. Personally, I would have done it after the UCLA game. I'm just being honest, but the Northwestern loss is unacceptable on so many different levels. By the way, Drew Aller sucks. But obviously, I didn't want Drew Aller to get injured. I never hope or wish for injuries. Okay, don't get it twisted. I don't. So I hope he recovers and I hope he's all right. He still sucks as a quarterback, though. That is the reality. But who knows? Maybe Penn State's backup, whoever it is better. If only they kept that one guy. What was his name? Bo Pribula. Man, if only they kept that guy. That guy looked pretty good against Alabama. Well, he looked fine. He looked all right. But, nothing special, but he looked better than Drew Aller, in my opinion. But I'll be interested to see who they get. A lot of people are talking about Curt Cignetti. I'm sorry. I don't think Curt Cignetti is going to leave Indiana anytime soon unless it's for like one of the top tier of the top tier. I just don't see him. Like if for some reason, let's say Ohio State fell off a cliff and lost 4 in a row all of a sudden and they fired Ryan Day or Ryan Day goes to the NFL. Let's say that. That's more realistic. Let's say Ryan Day went to the NFL. I could see Curt Cignetti going and coaching at Ohio State. I could see that. But Penn State, I don't know. I saw something today where they might go after Marcus Freeman. That one seems really random and really weird to me. Again, though, I don't think Marcus Freeman's going to leave Notre Dame to go to Penn State. I'll be very interested to see who they get. But I will admit, I'm kind of more interested to see where James Franklin ends up. Because I have to imagine someone will hire James Franklin. He is a good football coach, okay? And a lot of these teams, just throwing this out there, could James Franklin be the next head coach of Auburn? We know he's coached in the SEC before at Vanderbilt. Auburn, I think, is a very similar job to Penn State. I think Penn State's probably the better job, but what I mean by similar is that they're both kind of second-tier teams in their conference. Like, let's be honest, Penn State's not Michigan. Penn State's not Ohio State. Just like Auburn's not Alabama. Auburn's not Georgia. And I could honestly really see James Franklin at Auburn. I really could see it. I could see him at Florida. I just don't think Florida's going to go that route. If I'm a Oklahoma State, if I'm a Virginia Tech, why not go after James Franklin? He's way better than any of these other candidates I've been hearing for both of those programs. If I'm North Carolina, who's about to get rid of Bill Belichick most likely, why not go get James Franklin in here? That's my thing. I would be chomping at the bit to hire James Franklin if I'm one of these lower tier Power 4 teams. 100%. He did amazing work at Vanderbilt. Okay, if Kentucky fires Stoops, go get James Franklin. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. It's been a fun season of college football. The fun will continue this weekend. I hope everyone has an amazing week. Like I said, this will be the only episode this week, unfortunately. But next week, I'll be back to 2 a week. I promise. I hope everyone has an amazing week. Go out there, okay? Go out there into the world, into if you got practice for any sport, if you got to be in a play or whatever you got, don't forget to go out there and be great.